yo, what's up, what's up? What's up, Gino? What up, Mo Slim? What's up? Oh my god, a thinking emoji. What's going on, brother? Gold Mean B-E-R. What's up, man? Turkey just announced that Garcia and Haiti would take place inside the MGM elevator. Yo, what the fuck? Chill out. Yo, I thought you were about to be serious. Thought I had to check my socials, Gold. What's up, y'all? I'm getting the stream together while everyone's coming in. Hope you guys had a good Monday morning. It was good. I'm back. Odessa. FightHype, don't disrespect Mexican community. There's no disrespect. I don't see a disrespect. I think he's looking too deep into it. It could be Christmas weekend. That's just all that is. Was it not Cinco de Mayo weekend? Was it not Canelo? Was it not Ryan Garcia headline? I'm just saying, it could have been Christmas. It would have been the same thing. Naoya Inoue saves Christmas boxing weekend from whoever. So don't read into that, man. You're getting a little too deep. Those are the 3 headliners this weekend. But like I said, I'm going to give it like a couple more minutes for everyone to get in here. We're going to chat it up. Kind of do a little quick recap. Just like Inoue said, felt that in my soul, man. Need some trolls tonight. You wildin' out, go. All right. Let me cut the dramatic music out. What's going on, y'all? It's Ron over here at FightHype. Had to give a small little recap on a Monday. It kind of feels like a Sunday. I am back. Naoya is not Mexican. I don't care. Nobody's saying he's Mexican, brother. Nobody's saying he's Mexican. I think you're reading way too deep. There was how many headlines? There was 3 headlines, right? Right? You got Ryan Garcia versus Rolly, Canelo versus School, and Naoya Inoue versus Cardenas, right? So it was looking grim. This weekend was looking grim. And then, I had to come up. Look. I had to come up with the top ranked gear. I had to come up here with the top ranked gear. Yeah, I know y'all going too hard. Y'all, it could be Christmas weekend. Y'all find a way to turn it into some sort of level of disrespect. Okay. But I had to come here with the top ranked gear because Top Rank did their thing, man. I mentioned Espinoza, right? Because I know, oh man, I think I'm coming in here with a bad title. Espinoza definitely did his thing, all right? Nobody's trying to claim anything about race and nothing in here, right? Well, we're just clearly talking about by this weekend, if you had to spend your hard-earned money during one of the most important boxing weekends, all right? Naoya Inoue, Espinoza, they came in clutch. Like the 3-pointer, buzzer beater, MMA fans just coming through like, yo, boxing looking terrible. I don't know how y'all watching that. Then bam, Emiliano Vargas gets a knockout. Boom, Espinoza looks great. Boxing, y'all. Not brawling. Boxing. He was boxing his ass off. And then lastly, Carnitas. We got to give him credit too. Not just Inoue, because it takes 2 to tango, right? Plus, we got to give credit to Vasquez for being tough with Espinoza. But Cardenas probably, by far, gained almost all the fans that was watching that night. All the fans' respect. I mean, he almost pulled up an upset. Big time. So, yeah, Rohan Polanco boxed beautifully, absolutely. And in addition to that, you got to give Rolly credit too, because he came in there as the, if not the second biggest underdog over the weekend, and he was able to drop Ryan and get the win. So, but anyways, let me see. Yeah, they got chill. What up, LA Fight Club? Most of them fighters need to retire. Damn, you on your Shannon Briggs right now, right? Like, let's go, champ. That's what he was saying. I defend La Raza and Comrade. Look, I think you taking it a little too personal, man. I think you taking it. You gotta admit though, that was the best main event, all right? And the best co-main event was Espinoza. So at the end of the day, and I'm not. I just had this just fresh and clean in the closet. I was looking for a shirt to wear. I was like, you know what? Let me rock the Top Rank shirt, man. Why not? Because they did do their thing. You know, let me get this right here real quick. I'm gonna post something up on my Twitter. What up, Boxio? What's up, man? What's going on, man? What up, Mr. Quake? Saudi cooking, baby. I don't know, man. But on top of that, we also got news and announcement that Canelo Alvarez will be defending his undisputed title that he just achieved from fighting William School, right? 12 rounds of possibly, they said, the lowest punch thrown in a championship fight. Regardless, terrible fight, I think you can say, for both fighters. I mean, I'm a little bit more critical on School, my personal opinion, but at the end of the day, I mean, it was just a bad fight to watch. So, but it was announced coming up in Las Vegas, Canelo Alvarez will be defending his title against Terence Crawford. Right? So I know a lot of people originally was making Crawford the huge underdog, and I feel like after seeing the face-off and kind of getting some predictions going, I see a lot more people starting to change their mind a little bit on who they think could potentially win. I see a lot more 50-50s now. I see a lot more 50-50s because of the face-off. And after Canelo not being able to wow the world with the Williams School performance. So, here, let me... Yeah, very meh. Top Rank looking like... Top Rank looking at Teal like... I mean, to be honest, though, outside of Rolly, Teal did the best on that card. So, I mean, I would give Teal maybe like... I don't know. A C. You know what I'm saying? Like a C. But even he feels like he did poorly. I saw that he did some interviews at the Top Rank event, and he just really was not happy with his performance. So he knows what he's capable of. But, you know, on paper, it's a great win against Barboza. I'm not going to take anything away from it. I think it was a good win. But seeing how the fight played out, I think he could have did a lot more. My man said boxing needs new talent. You definitely are quoting Shannon Briggs for sure. Now, boxing and MMA are owned by TKO. Yeah, this is definitely going to be something different now, because it looks like this is going to be the first Dana White boxing event based off the TKO promotion that he's going to be involved in. So, yeah, Rohan Polanco boxed very well. Yeah, and he took on Maidana's brother, I think, in a pretty interesting fight. You know, I mean, he didn't look like the world killer like his previous fights, but he still did his thing. So he's still growing, he's still learning. It's technical, bro. Espinosa blocked too many punches with his chin. I mean, I think that was my only criticism, Tweety3, that I thought that he did everything like really well. He did get caught a little bit, but Vasquez was a live dog. He was definitely taking a lot of chances, and he was not afraid to engage at all. So I think at a point you have to give Vasquez some credit there too. But yeah, I mean, a part of Espinosa's game plan was to box, but he also likes to fight. So, you know, it's boxing. You tend to get hit, but for sure, if he can get his defense a little bit tighter, then I think he would get like an A+ in my book. You know, he did really well. I mean, I didn't know he had that boxing ability in his arsenal. Personally, I just didn't know. So I really do have to say Espinosa impressed me with not just by having a fun fight, but actually showing me that he actually has different tools in his toolbox. So I think he also, not only the fact that he impressed people with that, but he also did it where Naoya Inoue got dropped. And immediately people started comparing, like, yo, can Inoue go up against Carnitas? You know what I mean? Like, could he? I don't know, man. Like, I think a lot of people were immediately saying, like, this could be probably Inoue's cap. Like, 126 max, but that might take some time to get in there. So, Espinoza definitely looks like a huge problem against Inoue and everyone in the division. And he did it on the right night. You know, what better night to have a performance like that as the co-main event at the T-Mobile Arena, Cinco de Mayo weekend, right? Yo, chill. Some of y'all complain no matter what, though. I mean, it is what it is. Top Rank did save the weekend, 2023. There was no questions. Yeah, I agree with Mr. Quake. Really put it down for the short bus community. Y'all crazy, man. You know, I think Ryan Garcia has possibly one of the most interesting last 4 fights on his box rec. Because if you actually, hold on, let me put this up right there. Let me clean this up a little bit. If you look at his box rec, right? His last 4 fights is he got stopped by Gervonta Tank Davis, knocked out Oscar Duarte doing that weird shoulder roll, essentially beat Devin Haney, failed a drug test, no contest, and then got outboxed by Rolly Romero in 12 rounds. So in this case, I mean, we got to get Ryan into a winning situation where he's consistent like this before we even start putting him in like with Devin Haney and other things. Just he needs to get something going because this right here is looking bad for Ryan right now. Just my personal opinion. I don't know where you take a guy's career like this who has not performed, let alone got the decision on his record with a notable name like Gervonta, Devin, or Rolly. Like, so it's pretty wild, right? Did y'all see Nonito Donaire said about Rolly? Now, what do you say about Rolly? Like after the fight? Oh no, yeah, I did. Yeah, we actually have the interview. I'm tripping. Yeah. We was talking about Osterin's a hell of a drug too. Now got knocked down by a truck driver, 23. Damn, yo, I think you guys are taking that Uber driver Lyft stuff like way too much. I think they purposely did that to emphasize the storyline of his come up, because really at the end of the day, Carnitas is I don't know, how would I say it, a mandatory challenger to that position. Like the term cab driver and taxi driver is more for like a person who needs to do it because he needs a couple extra bucks on the side. This, however, on let's see, boxing rankings. This is a totally different situation. Just because the fact that he did do that as a profession on the side, he did work his way up in the positions of rankings. So, like, as you can see, Ramon Carnitas is right here, right underneath MJ. Like, MJ's the interim title, Inoue's super champion. So he's highly ranked right there. So don't get me wrong, I didn't expect the fight to go out the way that it did. You know, I knew his last fight on Pro Box, he for sure was a tough fighter. Don't get me wrong. But I think the allure of Inoue's pound for pound like status, right, being the top 3 triple-headed monster, right? Usyk, Bud, him. Anytime anyone gets in the ring with any of those guys, you just assume just destruction, especially if they don't have a known name. But, you know, Ramon definitely worked his way into this position, seeing the fact that he is right next to Louis Neary, you know? Like, he's above Tapalis, you know, he's above Gary Antonio Russell, he's above German Akajas. Like, these are either world champions or a world champion. Yeah, I mean, Tapalis unified, Neary champion, German champion. You know, Gary competed for a championship. At the end of the day, you got to respect that. So it was pretty much a mandatory defense. And you never know with those mandatory defenses, man. So that's where I look at it like that. What up, Saint? Appreciate the $2 super chat. Do you pay video uploads? I have a KO. I don't know what you mean by that. Do we upload videos? We do upload videos, but I don't know what you mean by you have a KO. But I appreciate the super chat, man. What up, Coda? What's up, my guy? It's been a minute. We are here. What's up, man? You're right. The fights were horrible. Yeah, the weekends was terrible, bro. Like, the weekends was terrible. Everything about this weekend until Sunday came along. And I say that as a fan of the sweet science. I don't really want to harp too much because I'm sure that we're beating a dead horse. But, you know, T.O., he did what he could. And I think he relied a lot on his athleticism more than his boxing ability. So that's why I think at a certain point, you know, he could have did a little bit more. But still, probably the best performance outside of Rolly, obviously with the upset. Devin really looked like a guy who was trying to just get a win in his column and not mess up the opportunity to fight for Ryan Garcia. Ramirez looked terrible. Like, I'm going to be honest. Ramirez looked past his prime. His footwork was bad. Him trying to cut off the ring, not using the jab. I mean, I think that's what made it even worse for Devin, because the fact that it seemed like that guy was there for Devin to make a highlight reel out of. And he didn't really take any chances, and he played it beyond safe. And you started hearing CompuBox stating that these were some of the lowest punch outputs in boxing, you know? So that was not a good look. And then, of course, Ryan Garcia goes in there what many people thought was going to be an easy fight for him, outside of the fact that Rolly can catch him, which he did get caught in the second round, but he didn't really show the same sort of get back. And didn't really even try to go out on his shield. And I know a lot probably has to do with not wanting to get caught again by Rolly. But at the same time, man, you got to try. You got to try. And you can see that he was not willing to take a chance. And so I think a lot of fight fans was extremely disappointed in Ryan's performance, to the point where they may not even give Rolly enough credit. You know what I'm saying? So Ryan just looked really bad. In addition to, over the weekend, the heavyweights didn't knock each other out. I think FA could have gotten a win against Martin Piccoli, but just very safe. I think the weekend was safe, play safe. Munguia was very safe when he fought his rematch against Bruno. Very safe. I think a lot of people thought Badu Jack could have lost that fight that recently went by. And then lastly, William School, great footwork. A+ on the footwork, F- on the hands. Like, if he put some hands together with his footwork, you know, he could have probably had a chance to really actually upset some shit. I'm being serious. Like, he could have potentially had Canelo confused, frustrated, walking into some shit. And it's very unfortunate, because I think that fight could have really been something where William School would have got the respect that a lot of boxing fans, you know, wouldn't have given him. They didn't know who the hell he was. They didn't see that. People thought he lost to Vladimir Shishkin. So personally, at the end of the day, I think he looked like trash. So great footwork, but he just did not look like he was trying to win by all means. And on Canelo, you know, I know he was trying to chase somebody down, but he needs to figure out how to get some better footwork, because, you know, these guys, they have a plan. They're going to move off the ropes. They're going to pivot. They're going to bounce. They're going to turn. You got to learn how to cut that ring off. If not, then, and if you were able to do it, then we might start to see a decline right before our eyes. And maybe that was unintentional, you know, maybe that was just a start of seeing something where Terence Crawford, which he said he saw something. Well, maybe he saw this fights ago, and we just couldn't believe it. And so now here we are, scratching our head after seeing the face-off, going, shit. That fight that kind of seemed like it was a little too much for Terence might be a little bit too much for Canelo. you know. But I'm just going off of just the school fight. I know that Terence had a competitive fight with Madrimov, so you know we can't forget about that. But ultimately, at the end of the day, you definitely can say that Terence is going to look at that fight and have to put lateral movement in his game plan, because if not, um, you know, yeah, I don't know. So, well, let me get with the chat. I seen Carnina's last 4 fights in pro box. He sure don't. He sure don't fight like a truck driver. That boy can scrap. Oh, for sure. He had a lot of heart in that pro box fight. I just seen him get hit a little too much, so I thought at a certain point, you know, Inoue was going to drop bombs on him. But really, at the end of the day, he made adjustments. He had a really tight high guard. Like, his defense was on point. You know, his counter left hook, threw some rights, took some chances. I mean, yeah, he's a dog, man. So, here we go with MMA versus boxing bullshit. Yeah. Rohan Polanco is a beast. Yeah, I like to see more of him. You know, Naoya's resume is so good that he had to take a tune-up against an Uber driver. I don't know why I don't know why y'all keep continuing to just think that Inoue is not a good fighter. Man. Y'all, man, I agree with everything Briggs and said. All them fighters trash. I took off work for nothing. Yeah, a lot of fight fans was really upset. $90, Times Square. You know the story. It's been repeated over and over. So, Inoue fight was fire. No, he didn't. Top Rank seemed the weekend with a good fight card and 3 KOs. Yeah, Top Rank did their thing, man. I can't even hate on Top Rank. CW, how the F was school footwork good, but Devin was running? I think Devin's footwork is good. I don't know if you're talking to someone in the chat, but Devin always has great footwork. I have the same criticism for Devin and School. Yeah, I know. I'm mad behind. All right, I am. I'm just getting to the chat right now. The reason why I have the same criticism about School and Devin is those two guys have tremendous footwork. You know, I didn't think Devin was running. I thought Devin was boxing. But the factor is when you have a live body, and I think in Devin's case, right? You know, I think Ramirez was past his prime. You know, you have great footwork. Put some jabs together. Take, you know, some chances. Work behind it. I get the fact that at the end of the day, you're maybe trying to just get a win. You've been out the ring for a year, trying to secure the Ryan Garcia fight, and I respect that. And you did do that, so I can't even be mad at you for that. But for me as a viewer, paying money, trying to, I guess, grade you, I didn't really think he let his hands go enough. And so I think Devin and School both showed tremendous footwork, but just not great hands. School worse than Devin. My opinion. But even then, like, it's not that far. Like, I'm not really like even trying to I shouldn't even be nitpicking. They were both pretty bad, like, in a sense of that. So, guys, we also have to remember winning is important, but also entertainment factor. You know, you got people spending $90. I know you got to secure your win, and you have to make sure that you're fighting for yourself and your family. And sometimes you have to be like, fuck the fans. But at a certain point, that will haunt you to a certain degree. And I'm not saying like take unnecessary chances, but it just felt like he took the lowest amount of chances I've ever seen him in my entire life, you know. And I think that's the problem. You know, Devin's a guy who's defense first, but he gets busy a little bit. He likes to fight. You see him with Linares. You see him with other fighters, Regis. He lets his hands go. But in that case, he just didn't really let his hands go at all. And when the time went by, it just felt like work to get through the fight. And, you know, I can appreciate the good footwork. You know, I have nothing negative about his footwork. I think Devin's footwork was great. Just didn't put anything behind it. Like, you know what I mean? And I've seen Devin do sparring stuff with, like, one hand. I've said this story many times. Devin has been in positions, you know, where he had to practice sparring with one hand. And he was busier with one hand than he has been with two hands, you know? So that's just my thing. Let me catch up with some. How he cheated with weight versus Duarte. He cheated with weight. PEDs with Devin. When he couldn't cheat, he got whooped by Rolly. Always been. I did hear that too. That people were like, "Well, see, this is what happens where, he's not on Osterin, right? Or he's not a PED cheat." And I'm not mad at that theory either. CW. I think some of it had to do with just, Rolly caught his ass in the second round, and I also think a year inactivity could play a factor. I think it played a factor in Devin too. Both those guys were not sharp in that situation. So, in regards to that, activity is very important in boxing, personally, in my opinion. And I think you saw a little bit of it. But at the end of the day, I do feel like Devin and Ryan at some point do have to run it back because that's an asterisk. No matter whatever Ryan did in that fight, it doesn't matter. So, you do have to squabble again because at the end of the day, Ryan did fail a drug test. So, that door is always open that he's a PED cheat, so it'll never go away. Ryan isn't going to do well with anybody with power. Y'all still can't tell he doesn't like being hit. He only fought 3 punches for a reason. Yeah, I mean, he's getting hit by the same shit, and he kind of freezes up a little bit. The Luke Campbell fight, he got up and he was hurt, but he went and fought. But yeah, dude, that Ryan was just not it. I'm calling him Little Meats. Chill out. That's just my poor accent, bro. But yeah, I agree with you. Top Ring definitely saved the weekend. Yeah, for sure, for sure. What up, Peaceful? Oh, what up, Young Poppy? What's good, man? Garcia needs to fight U2 fighters. I've heard some people say that. I'd rather see Inoue get hit with a shot and go down and recover and avoid the shot again than get punished with multiple shots and not go down. And avoid the shot again than get punished with multiple shots and not go down. I mean, look. That guy can punch. Ramon can punch. Like, I'm convinced that he's a true puncher. I think his game plan of throwing the hooks in between Inoue, trying to catch him leaping in, was a good strategy. The only problem is he relied on it way too much. When he started to become first, he actually had a really good jab. He had a really good jab. He was actually, at moments, potentially out jabbing Inoue. But then he started to get away from it, and then he started to wait and rely on the counter hooks. And eventually Inoue started to work him a little bit. And then there was moments he started picking it back up in the middle of the fight, but you just got to be busy. You got to beat Inoue. It's almost like Ramon actually like frustrated Inoue, and that's why Inoue kind of took the bait where Ramon was on the ropes, and Inoue was trying to essentially get back what he felt like he was losing early in the round, and Inoue lunged in, chasing Ramon, and Ramon set him up beautifully, timed him with that counter left hook with Inoue dropping the right hand, and it was perfect, But Inoue made the proper adjustment, saw it coming, baited it out actually. A lot of times you can see him trying to bait that hook out because Ramon never really threw a jab to follow up with it before it. So, but still, at the end of the day, man, I thought he did great, and I think Inoue made a great adjustment. I have a knockout Golden Gloves. I would pay you to upload it. Oh, I get what you're saying. You wanted to. I don't know if we're not bought, if that makes sense, to just upload stuff. So, I mean, by all means, you can send it at FightHype@gmail.com if you want. But I can't really necessarily just say, hey, we just upload. We kind of have like a formula. But you can send an email over at FightHype@gmail.com. See if Ben will do it. Y'all bleed like me. I'll be waiting. Happy Cinco de Mayo, everyone. You think Bruno beat Munguia? I'll be honest, Coda. I didn't really even watch the fight that much. Like, I kind of was in and out a little bit. So I was listening to some commentary on my headphones, but I'll probably have to watch it again. He looked very safe. And there was moments I did thought Munguia was struggling a little bit, but You know what a switch is? I ain't worried, big bro. What y'all talking about in the chat? Anyway, he gets beat at 126. His hands during combos were too low. Yeah, 126 might be a little too much. 126 might be a little too much for him, man. Those guys are actually pretty big to be at 126, minus Nick Ball. So, at a certain point, weight classes matter, dude. And you're starting to see it when he's starting to have some serious resistance at 122. Tapales gave him some problems. He got dropped by Neri. He just got dropped by Ramon. We'll see how the MJ fight plays out. So, yeah, Rob Bruno. I ain't trying to hear it. Your own people will get you. No sympathy. No more begging. Terence will beat Canelo. Did you always say that, Coda? I can't remember, Coda, if you always was on the Terence beats Canelo. I don't know if you were always like that. You could remind me. Or I think you thought Terence would beat Canelo, but you thought Boots would beat Terence? Is that what you're saying? You're just trolling the mobster in the chat? Yeah. Inoue loses to Nakatani. That's fair. I mean, Nakatani, you saw what he did with Jason Maloney. He's a southpaw, but he did the step back and caught Maloney leaping in with the, oh, you had Canelo, so you changed. Okay. That's what I thought, which is cool. You know what I mean? Like, you know, people can change their mind. It's boxing, right? I'm not going to lie. I thought Canelo had a better chance of beating Crawford. Now I'm like, after having a couple conversations with Bud, you know. But yeah, you think Boots beats all of them. CW says, also, you can't cut the ring off somebody whose entire goal is survive and not engage. Even somebody with worse feet not getting stops if they don't want to. Yeah, you're talking about Canelo? Yeah, I think Canelo just needs to figure out how to cut off the ring, bro. Like School had good footwork, you know what I mean? But he needs to figure it out because these guys will continue to use that against them. From Caleb Plant to School to Lara to Bivol. I mean, shit. Well, let's watch what Terence is probably going to try to do. So, after last night, I'm convinced Naoya knocks out Tank. Really? You do realize, like, they're completely different weight classes, Gold. I'm just letting you know that again. Like, skill for skill, if you feel Inoue's a better fighter than Tank, I respect that. But you do know Tank is at 135, and Tank is athletic. He's powerful. He will hit Inoue. He will hit Inoue. So, and if Tank lands a shot on Inoue, knowing the different weight classes, I mean, he's putting Inoue out, bro. Like, I hate the Inoue Tank stuff only because it's just too much weight for Inoue. It's just not a realistic fight. And you're seeing it at 122. I thought Canelo knows how to cut off the ring. I did too. I mean, that's why I'm giving School credit because of the footwork aspects. School does look like he has good footwork. However, I mean, I don't know. Canelo needs to figure that shit out, though. That's all I can say. You know, Canelo needs to figure that shit out because these guys will continue to use it. Anyway, Chinny Murd 15. What up, Murd 15? You think Inoue's chinny? Well, he took Donaire shots pretty well. He didn't go down there. He's tough as fuck. He had his orbital bone broken. He continued to fight through that. Neri is a known puncher. Got up, fought through that. And from what I'm seeing after that fight, Ramon can crack. Like, that was a flush shot. Like, it looked powerful. It sounds powerful. So, reminder, Murd 15, Inoue is in his, like, fourth, technically. If he fought at 115, this would be his fifth weight class, I believe. So, he's kind of, like, fighting guys just a little bit bigger than him. You know what I mean? So, everything's going to pack a bigger punch on a guy like Inoue. So, but you know, I get it. Seeing him get dropped by a guy that many people didn't really know can raise concern. However, it is boxing. People do get dropped. I've seen Marquez get dropped. You know, Morales get dropped. Barrera get dropped. I think all those guys have chins. Pacquiao get dropped. So, I just don't really think the definition of chinny comes from the fact of getting caught with a really solid, strong punch flush. and going down like determines chinny. I think you can praise them for having a great chin where the normal person would go down, but they didn't. I think that's the definition of having a great chin. But I think chinny to me is like you get caught with something that didn't really look flush or didn't really look like it landed clean, and the person's on Bambi legs. So that's just my opinion. Kind of a shot that really didn't seem like it had any true effect until they saw your body. That shot was a collision shot where Inoue's face ran into the punch. Like literally ran into a solid counter punch. You know, Ramon was patiently planning that step back left hook, and he caught him clean and flush. So that's just my opinion. You know, honestly, they need to stop rewinding that style of boxing. It's off-putting and shows a lack of heart, which you used to need in boxing. Can you elaborate a little bit more, 23? I'm just trying to figure out what that follow-up was. Devin was running gang. Boxing is using angles and slipping and pivoting, turning your opponent, using tricks, not that. I think Devin just didn't let his hands go. I think he had the good footwork to do what you're asking, but he would have to throw hands, and then you can appreciate the footwork. He didn't throw his hands, so he deserves all the criticism in the world, because the idea is hit and not getting hit. You're going to have to start hitting your opponent a lot, you know? And I didn't think Devin was hitting his opponent. Same with School. And y'all still don't get why Ryan lost. How come we don't criticize Haney for using PEDs? Because Haney's never failed. You know what I'm saying? Like, Haney has never failed a drug test. So it's only speculation at that point. I do understand that he's working with Victor Conti at Snack, and Victor Conti has a history in the past for, you know, essentially peddling drugs or helping. He's a chemist. So I understand that. And I'm not mad at you for even believing that. But the only reason why I can't, as like my profession, actually go on paper and on record saying that Haney uses PEDs is because he's never failed a drug test. I have no factual proof. You know, Ryan Garcia failed a drug test, so I can literally factually say Ryan has failed his sports examination test, and he had something in his body which he was not allowed to. If it had an effect on his performance against Devin, I don't know. I can't really say that I'm at a level of understanding what that truly is capable of doing. But I do know that if anyone can get criticized for PEDs, it would be Ryan, because Ryan on paper has failed not just one, but 2 drug tests. Then they did the B sample test, which means it's a total of 4 tests he's failed, because if they took the B sample for each of the before and after. So Ryan's failed a drug test. So I can safely on record say that Ryan has failed his drug tests. However, for Devin just speculation based on the fact of who he's affiliated with, and speculation on, you know, his size and being at a certain weight and things like that. So if that's the politically correct answer, cool. I'm just going that way because I can't do that. But if you feel like Devin has shown signs on his body, he's had certain symptoms and things like, you're entitled to that. And I'm not saying don't deep dive into the speculation, because there's a lot of people who do cheat and never get caught. And I think that there's a lot of people who can tell or feel like someone is on something. That's not me, you know, because I don't really have the extensive background to actually, you know what I'm saying, like put my name and put their name and say, hey, this person is showing signs of this, yada, yada, yada. You know what I mean? That's extremely wrong of me. It's extremely unprofessional. But there's a lot of people who know stuff about it. Boxing do have cheaters, and they never get caught. It happens all the time. So I don't put it past you guys for feeling like you want to criticize Devin for whatever reasons. You know, me personally, if I was in the sport of boxing and I knew there was people who failed or had like affiliation with failed drug tests and stuff like that, I would remove myself from that, because I wouldn't want that perception. Not that the fact that I care what people think, but at the end of the day, like, it does overshadow certain situations, like when you have controversy like the Ryan Garcia. Ryan's able to look at you and kind of tell the public, like, well, you're working with Victor Conte, bitch. You're working with Victor Conte. And it takes away from the fact that Ryan has failed a drug test. So, like, the Haney's put themselves in a position where, like, they didn't necessarily affiliate themselves with people who, like, are known to not have any parts of failed drug tests. And I understand why the public will look at it that way. And so I don't criticize your opinion, Gold. I just can't criticize Haney for using PEDs because it's not actual facts. You get what I'm saying? Like, it's not proven. But later on in life, maybe 10 years from now, if hindsight comes out, some things come out, I'll have a retroactive opinion, and I'll change my opinion. You know what I mean? So, what up, Angry Casual fan? What's up, man? At least Inoue would throw his hands. I would stop giving him a hard time. Hey, come over here, boy. Join the Inoue train, man. No, I'm a fan of Inoue. I've been a fan of Inoue for a minute. I think Inoue is a dog, man. Canelo Alvarez is the face of boxing. I mean, when it comes to promoting, marketing, things like that, I mean, he's kind of been doing that for a long time. But that performance on Saturday was rough. Him and School, you know, was rough. Tank would sleep anyway. Let's not even put that in a conversation. Yeah, right, Mo? Like, I don't even want anything with Inoue and Tank, man. Tank sleeps Inoue, you know. It's just has nothing to do with skill. It has everything to do with size. I think Inoue and Tank, if they were the same size, would be a great fight. And I think I would probably favor Inoue to win that fight for sure. But in the case of right now, Tank puts Inoue to sleep. It would be disgusting. Like, it would be bad. Like, it would be really, really bad. Because all Tank really needs to do is land one good shot on him, you know? Like, if Ramon was able to land that shot, Tank's going to be able to land that shot and more consistent. And he's going to be able to take Inoue's punches way better than Ramon can. You know what I mean? He's used to getting punched by bigger guys. So we just leave the Inoue Tank stuff alone. What Caleb Plant did and what Bivol did is not the same as what School did. Caleb and Bivol actually tried to win and fight. I agree. We're just talking about, like, footwork. They all emphasize moving, pivoting, you know. But activity is what Caleb and Bivol both did. They let their hands go. You know what I mean? So, yeah, not realistic at all. Yeah, that's like making Tank versus Crawford. Yeah, it makes no sense. And for a certain while, this Crawford Canelo shit felt the same way too. But, you know, we're gonna see now. How many people want Inoue to fight Tank? Inoue, I just can't, bro. Yeah, fam, I'm lowering my standards. I don't care about resume. If you let your hands go, we cool. If you run, I will boycott you. Yo, Kaz, man, that's what we on this week. Fuck resume now, right? You let your hands go. Yo, Inoue got a good resume. I don't understand why people keep. Do I have to do an Inoue box rec? Why is people constantly saying Inoue's resume? I'm not saying you, but it just seems like, let's keep it a bean, man. Like, when he started fighting, his first fight was 16-4, 9-10, at 108, 110. Like, he's fighting literally the best guys in Japan, bro. 43-1. 43-1. He's getting titles from dudes from 43-1, 29-2. Come on, bro. It's like some Lomachenko shit. Then, after a while, after he dusted off all the best fighters in Japan, you know, he has some kind of fights like a Tony Nieves. I remember that fight. But then he continued to move up weight. Payano. Do people forget Payano? Payano at a point beat Rashi Warren. You know, highly decorated amateur from Ohio. Beat him. Took his O. You know, then Rashi fought him again and beat him. But then Inoue came and dusted him off in the first round with a 1-2. Come on, man. E-Man, Emmanuel Rodriguez, who later on beat Gary Antonio Russell. I mean, not Antonio, which Russell did he beat? He beat, Antonio Russell. I mean, E-Man, come on. Then Donaire, who later won a title after, where he beat Ubwali, who Ubwali beat Raushi Warren. Jason Maloney, I get it. Maybe some people. He came back, dusted up Donaire. He was trying to fight Casemiro. Casemiro messed that up. I remember a lot of people didn't think. Casa, look, Inoue resume is trash, but I don't care anymore. Yo, chill out, man. Y'all are horrible. Everyone thought Stephen Fulton was gonna do his thing, and I'm a big fan of Stephen Fulton. You know what I mean? I think Stephen Fulton's another fighter that's extremely underrated. But then Martin Tapales, the guy who beat MJ, he beat MJ, the one that everyone Inoue to fight. He beat MJ. He beats Tapales. Like, come on, man. We can't be doing this, man. We can't be doing this, man. But I respect what you're saying. Yo, when did a guy staying so far away neither fighter can land a fight start being called good defense? Yo, I'm on my politically correct stuff tonight, man. People bring up Floyd, but Floyd wasn't. Yo, yeah, facts. I never want to hear anyone talk about Floyd Mayweather and whatever school and Devin was doing. Floyd was one of the best counter punchers in boxing history, and he would actually try to make you pay. So, facts. That was the shot that Marquez knocked Pacquiao out. Being chinny is if anyone can land a flush, you're hurt or you go to sleep. But by anyone, I mean not just power punches. Yeah, I agree. That's what I say chinny is. Anybody can hurt you. Which is cliche. It's boxing. Anyone can land a shot. But no, really. Like, being chinny is anybody can hurt you. Floyd only ran from Pacquiao. I think Floyd ran from Pacquiao. He was a little bit more cautious. But that first round, he came at Pacquiao, and he was like, started fucking Pacquiao up. He started giving him some respect. But Floyd just played it smart, man. Homie looked like Mike Tyson that fight compared to what we were seeing these guys now. Ron, you're politically right, but he done had acne on his ass before. And all gang, you're talking about Devin? Look, I ain't putting no type of accusation on Devin Haney, because at the end of the day, I have no proof, and so I have no means or right or need to even speak on it, you know? I remember when my boy Sean was on here, he started doing that stuff about Inoue, whole Japan started flooding him. Gotta be smart on what you say, man, and I get it. He's with Snack. You're entitled to your opinion. If you know more than I do about how acne works in the body and stuff, then more power to you. Me, I can't put that coat on him. Can't put that coat on anyone until they failed, or I know for a fact behind the scenes. But I don't. Even Ryan fans know he cheated. They just don't care. Yeah, they don't care. I've never seen Floyd run and refuse to engage. That's some new age shit. Even when he hurt his hand, he still fought. You know. I just can't bring Floyd's name to anything in this era. No. Linares' fight, he gets clipped, had a little wobble, but stood up. Everyone called Devin chinny. Austrian knocks Devin down 3 times, get back up, wins most rounds. They called him chinny. Is Dev chinny? I don't think Devin's chinny. I think he gets hit a little bit more than people think. You know, when they call him a defensive wizard, I don't think he's the best defensive fighter, but you know, he got caught by a good shot from Linares. Linares is not like pillow fisted. Ryan clearly is not weak. Ryan clearly has power. So, and you know, really, Devin just got caught flush as shit. Like, when you really look at the Linares fight and the Ryan fight, Devin got caught flush. Like, flush. I think people need to stop, like, how am I about to say? I think people need to stop, like, taking the fact that if someone hurts you, you're chinny. I think it's the idea that if you get punched literally by shots that look like nothing from anybody, not known punchers, and you're constantly, almost every fight, you're going down, you're getting hurt, you're in some that's what I feel like is chinny, right? But if you're getting punched by known punchers or people that catch you flush, like super flush, and you happen to go down, I don't think that's chinny. I think we need to start adding a category of people who have really good chins where, all right, really good chin should have went down. Normal chin need to stop getting hit by that shit. Terrible chin, you go to sleep by like you're constantly going to sleep by nobodies. Like nobody's like, bro, I don't even want to put Amir Khan in there like this because I know Amir Khan is the ace, the go-to in most cases. But Amir Khan definitely has been robbed by some punchers. You know what I mean? He's been robbed by some punchers. Him getting hurt by Terence Crawford's not bad. Going to sleep by Canelo, it's not bad. Danny Garcia is not bad. But I think the idea is that with Amir Khan, it seems like he's fighting for his life. I don't know if this makes sense. It's like he's constantly fighting for his life in every fight. So you start to wonder, like, are these only because of punchers, or is it because the fact that, like, all right, here's a good example. Samuel Vargas hurt Amir Khan. This is a good example. Samuel Vargas is not like known as a guy to knock out guys with good chins. All right, he's not known as a knockout. I can't even tell you a Samuel Vargas knockout, but he fucking dropped Amir Khan in the 12th round. I think I don't remember the Luis Collazo fight too much in the back of my mind, but Julio Diaz dropped Khan. Who else dropped Khan? Like, it's just a constant theme that Amir Khan is constantly in every fight has a highlight of him all over the place, like drunk and just fucking Kell Brook. He was drunk in like the first round or two. Like, Amir Khan is definitely the definition of a chinny fighter, in my personal opinion. Gamboa, Gamboa is like a chinny fighter, right? You could be a chinny fighter and have heart. I don't think Devin's a chinny fighter. I think Devin is a guy who is not as defensively responsible as people think, and he does get caught with some good shots, and he has been put in positions where, people started to question his chin. Getting cracked by Lomachenko, cracked by Ryan Garcia, doesn't tell you that he's chinny. Amir Khan getting cracked and dropped by Samuel Vargas, and almost losing the fight in the 12th round. Getting caught by Breidis Prescott in the first round. Like, Jesus. Oh my God. That record just got really, really bad. Like, really bad. Really, 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 really bad. And yeah, Amir Khan went night-night in the first round. And I get it. Anyone can get caught. It's boxing. But that's my opinion of what chinny is. So, how does Loma hurt you and he's 20 pounds lighter? He hurt Teofimo Lopez. What do you mean? Loma can hurt fighters. It's not a one-shot. I'm just talking boxing, bro. I think I'm out of the chat, but I see you. But that's my opinion. You know what I mean? But if someone thinks Devin's chinny, I'm not mad at that too. You know what I mean? Didn't Alexander Povetkin just get the last 10 years of his career erased due to Austrian? The fact y'all capping for Ryan's crazy. For sure. Look, here's the thing about Povetkin. Povetkin has failed drug tests prior to the Austrian thing. So I think people have already felt like Povetkin was a dirty fighter. So when that news came out, it's not surprising. Devin, on the other hand, has never officially failed a drug test. So, once again, if I go out on whim and say Devin is a drug cheat with no proof, that makes no sense. Because if I have to prove it and I'm speculating, that makes no sense. Povetkin, however, has failed drug tests prior to that sentence. Now, if Devin Haney has a situation 5 years from now that we found out, for example, remember how Shane Mosley in the Balco situation where people were like, they think, like, I have a better case of saying, all right, I think Shane Mosley was on some shit, regardless if he did it intentionally or not. He, like, openly admitted that Victor Conte has taught him how to do something that's not legal in boxing. So in the case of that, then yes, I would do that with Devin. But other than that, I can't put that coat. Devin isn't chinny low, hit him with some shit and he didn't go down. Did somebody said Floyd ran from Manny? Floyd landed. Yeah, Floyd was always going to beat Pacquiao. But that's what Cash said. Favorite Inoue over Tank when you see as a sucker for southpaw. He's a sucker for the southpaw left is crazy. Oh, yeah. Even then. Yeah, Tank likes to catch and shit. I don't ever want to talk about Tank and Inoue. If I see any more Tank Inoue, I'm just skipping it. This don't even make sense no more. Even if they were the same size. Tank. Oh, yeah. Resume. If a casual argument anyway, just watch the fight. That's how I knew AJ would lose. Devin would lose to Ryan. Rolly would beat Ryan. Many more upsets. Just watch the fights. You make a good point. Styles do make fights. Resumes also don't tell the full story. You know what I mean? They don't. Just make the fights and just let it happen. Clean out your division. Fight everybody regardless if they have the belt or not. Belts are manufactured as a marketing tool. Yes, it does also present the opportunity to see potentially who is the best. But sometimes it also creates situations where you have no freaking clue who's the best because the person who is the best doesn't have the opportunity. So, like you said, watch the fights. You said it best. Look, anyway, resume is trash, but I don't care anymore. Just show me you're trying not to let it go to the scorecards. Donaire was 39. I hate this argument about Donaire, though, right? I get it. It wasn't a prime Donaire, right? But anybody who breaks somebody's orbital bone from a punch is a fucking puncher. Like, a puncher. And if you're able to fight with a broken orbital bone, like, you're able to... Dude, Donaire is extremely bigger than Inoue. Like, do I have to pull this fight up? Like, I can't necessarily show the fight. Hold on. Y'all see... Y'all got me. Inoue Donaire. Like, being 39 does not... They always say power is the last thing to go. Triple G had power. George Foreman had power. Like, people always carry power. You know? And Donaire won a championship after. And if anyone who fights through a broken orbital bone... Like, Kell Brook couldn't do it. You know? Like, broken orbital bones, Ugas, he couldn't get through it. Dude, I'm telling you right now, Inoue is a tough-ass fucking fighter. And Donaire is a very experienced power puncher who, at that point, yeah, might have not been in his prime, but that was Inoue's first, like, legit real test against a guy that's that much bigger than him, had, if not more experience than him, and has punching power. You know? Y'all gotta go watch this fight again, man. And tell me Donaire was not cracking. Now, if you feel like Inoue shouldn't have been caught like that, well, I mean, that's why you make the fights. You get a young lion versus an old lion, and this is a very important developmental part of boxing, where you go through this growing pain, where you learn, and then you get better, and you overcome the mistakes you made from those type of fights. I mean, at that time, what was it? Let me see. He said Inoue's a lot bigger. Donaire says Inoue's way bigger than Inoue now. Inoue physically cannot make 118. Donaire can. I mean, I don't know, man. I just know that it was a good fight. I think it was a credible win. I think, yes, you have to put a little concern because of how old Donaire was. But when they fought again, I mean, Inoue blasted him out. So, And that was right after Donaire won a title, came back with the title. Mo gotta be politically correct. Bro thinks he's Joe Biden. Most of them guys already lost a few times too. That's why resume is a casual argument. You know, when you really even look like when you look at old school resumes, like there's so many losses and yet they're greats. There's just a case of just as long as you're fighting the fights that we want to see you fight, then we're good, right? What does having a lot to do with anything? If you fight the best, you're bound to lose with some. Yep, exactly. I would never understand why or y'all always bring up tank conversation. Yeah. Bro, say resume doesn't matter. Ridiculous how you a top fighter, but I think he's mentioning that the fact that when you only rely on liking a fighter based off resume, like you might feel like, all right, here's a good example. I feel like a lot of people like Jaron Ennis, right? They enjoy his style. They think he's a good fighter. They believe he can beat a lot of people, but his resume is garbage. And I say that as a guy who just hasn't had an opportunity to show that he could potentially beat the top guys. His resume does not reflect the potential of what many people think he can do. It's a really subpar resume. It really is. Not saying that's the fault of his own, but it's a pretty mid-ass resume. But with the powers of boxing, you know, they make certain fights when it makes sense politically, marketing, promotionally. So you can't only rely on resume, but if you're actually trying to place, I guess, this guy over this guy and why this guy may potentially be able to beat this guy, that's when you bring your resume, because you're like, well, I still want to see the fight. You're not saying I don't want to see the fight because who has he fought? I think that's dumb when people bring that up. He hasn't fought nobody. Have him fight someone and then he can fight this guy. If you're speaking in that manner, the only time it makes sense when you talk about that, it's like he hasn't fought anyone to bring up his markability so that the fight makes sense to make for money. But really, at the end of the day, if you base fights only off of resume and saying like they shouldn't fight, that's stupid. Now, if I say I think this guy can beat this guy because he fought better competition, so because of that, I feel like he has more experience and has a better case because he might be able to beat this guy and give him something that he hasn't experienced or seen yet. This guy's battle tested. This guy is not. So usually we like to go with the not the beaten up battle tested fighter, but like in prime champion, you know, lack of losses and knocked out champion who's been battle tested versus this young guy who hasn't really proven himself and hasn't really done anything to get my respect to think he beats him. But do I not want to see the fight? No, I want to see the fight. That's why we need to make the fights. But that's the only time when resume really comes down if you're trying to make a pound for pound list or if you're trying to pick a guy to beat a guy because you feel like he's fought the better opposition. But for the most part, we see it all the fucking time. We see guys that, quote, don't deserve to be in there based off resume, and they beat those guys. If you build these guys up by good marketable names, now we're talking. If Jaron Ennis happens to fight Pacquiao and he beat Pacquiao, you know what I'm saying? Now everybody wants to fight Jaron Ennis because he has a name on his resume that the casuals most likely have seen Jaron Ennis, and now you can fight Jaron Ennis and you can sell a fight. You know what I mean? Like, that's when you kind of can start talking resume as in, does it make sense for me to fight him because he's coming off a big win in boxing and I can make a big fight with him in boxing. That's kind of the whole thing. What up, Rob? Once you start saying man fan stuff, I don't talk. Y'all crazy. Inoue resume is asked to us Americans because we don't follow them small weight classes. That dude is 4th division champ. Yeah. Inoue's, when it comes to smaller weight classes, Inoue is that guy. But he has a couple he has a couple fights around him that I think American fans are starting to kind of get behind. I know Espinoza is a fight where a lot of Americans now are like, yo, you beat that dude. Nakatani is a guy from Japan who somehow managed to crack American interests where we want to see Inoue fight him. Nick Ball would be a fun fight. I think even though Shushu isn't proven, I think Shushu has captured American fan interest because we've been following him for a while. So, it'd be something like, all right, we've seen what this guy, and especially if Shushu wins a title, especially if he beats a good guy at 126, then I think Americans will want to see that fight. But at the end of the day, I think Inoue's starting to have some names now that American fans are actually interested. Not saying it matters, but it really is starting to seem like he's starting to have marketable fights that can happen in America. And I think Espinoza, by far, after what they did on the same night, could be something they can do and run it if Espinoza can make 126. Because really, at the end of the day, that is a fucking tough fight for Inoue. I don't care. I don't care what nobody says. That is a tough ass fight for Inoue. So, and I want to see it. I want to see it. Eye test is for prospects. Inoue's a 2-time undisputed champ, 4-division champ. That shit ain't eye test. Yeah. He's beyond eye test. He's fought a lot of legit fighters, even when he was coming out in Japan. Like, his career in Japan was, he came in the scene and fought the best Japanese fighters, like, within his first 5 fights. That's, like, kind of like what Lomachenko kind of did to a degree. You know what I mean? I know Lomachenko's fights was a little bit more worldly, but in those weight classes, a lot of the best fighters were Japanese fighters and Asian fighters. So, because of it, he was kind of like doing what Lomachenko was doing, fighting the best Japanese fighters within the top 5, within his first like 5-6 fights. So Devin's not chinny. His defense was bad. See, we kind of have that same philosophy that Devin does get hit a little bit more. All right, let me catch up. I might skim around. I'm gonna catch some people who I haven't. What up, Crypto Chad? What's up? Fury should be boxing's face. Heavyweight champ, the man, always unmatched personality, epic comeback story, Netflix shows. I mean, he had an opportunity, but now Usyk beat him twice. You know what I mean? I think he had a moment, but he had a controversial win against Francis Ngannou. He had 2 losses against Usyk. I think his moment's probably past now. And if he had the Joshua fight, I think that would have really cemented it. But Usyk's a bad dude, man. Usyk's my pound for pound. Yeah, Usyk's my pound for pound. Let me see if I get some other people hasn't been. Aaron, I didn't want to talk about it either, bro. Yeah, the Inoue. Yeah, it's not about power. Prime Donaire versus Prime Inoue. Who wins? I would probably favor Donaire. I think Donaire does at times put himself in like bad positions, but he has a hell of a chin. His power is clearly there. You've seen it when he fought Inoue when he was older. And really, Ugas was worse. The ref stopped it. He didn't quit. That was misleading, Ron. You talking about when the orbital bone? All right. Okay. I wouldn't necessarily is misleading, but I can come back and say, all right, fair. Ugas fought with a broken orbital bone. I mean, broken eye socket, right? But here's the difference, Mo. This is me. Listen, I'm going to walk you off the ledge on this one. Because I understand what you're saying by saying it was misleading. You're right. The ref did stop it. But was he coming back with a broken orbital bone, and was he winning the fight? Inoue had a broken orbital bone early on and came back to win the fight. But then you're gonna be like, oh, but Donier's older and stuff like. I know we can do this all day, but yeah, props to Ugas. Let's see. Perfectly explained, Ron. That's why I said for the most part, you can tell if a fighter is elite no matter who they're in the ring with if you watch boxing. For sure. That's why like people can tell like, oh, you're ducking this guy. You don't want to fight this guy. We can tell this is a good fighter, regardless of his accolades. We want to see you fight him. You're ducking smoke. You ducking. You don't want to give him an opportunity, right? It's the resume thing for work. You want to get a job, but they ask you for resume. They ask you for work experience, but you can't get work experience because nobody's going to give you a job because you have no work experience. So it's like, how do you get a big fight when nobody's giving you a fight to prove that you deserve big fights? It's the same shit. It's the same shit. It's like the boxing's version of work experience. You need work experience to get the job. So until you get some work experience, we can't give you a job. But nobody's giving me a job, so I can't get no work experience to prove that I deserve this job. I'm a good fighter. I want to fight for a championship. But nobody's willing to fight me to give me an opportunity to fight the best so I can become someone that gets an opportunity to fight. You know what I mean? Boxing, man. It's fucking stupid. If you watch boxing, you've seen plenty of guys hyped up, called elite, and the second they fight another halfway decent fighter, they get their ass whooped. For sure. I mean, look, I'm guilty of it here. I mean, it's FightHype, right? FightHype. We hype up fights. We hype up fighters, things like that. Our job is to promote and hype up fighters. Their job is to prove if the hype is real, you know? And it's the fans to want to believe the hype. So ultimately, at the end of the day, you don't have hype. If the fight makes sense, you guys need to fight each other. You know, on a fan scale, we wish we had it a way to be able to have them prove it before we were able to actually give them our actual money and praise and stuff like that. But that's not how it works. Boxing's a business. Sometimes you have to have an it factor. If not, we've seen some guys who are some of the best fighters in the world just can't talk, can't sell, they can't do nothing behind the mic. They're just absolutely horrible. So, oh shit, am I dropping frames? Yeah, I think my frames was dropping. My bad. I don't know what that's about. I just saw that. Why is my frames was dropping? Okay. Let me skip around a little bit more. The only fighter that has thrived after an Inoue fight is Fulton. That is insanely good win. Your YouTube is not enough to maintain smooth stream. Viewers experience buffering. Is my stream buffering with you guys? Because I'm getting some notifications on my end. There's like a thunderstorm going on where I'm at. So if it buffers really bad, please let me know. The only fighter that has thrived after Inoue fight is Fulton. That is his only good win. Donaire's won a title after. Emmanuel Rodriguez won a title after he beat Gary's brother. Can't say that. Bro, please stop talking to me. Oh, okay, y'all just fighting in the chat now. All right. Crawford, Shakur, and Inoue have the worst resume on the pound for pound list. Why do you think Crawford has such a bad resume? Shakur's resume is not that great. I get that. Miguel Cotto, Triple G, Charlo, Mosley. Don't ever put Crawford's name besides Canelo. It's an insult to his hard work. I mean, I think by far Canelo is definitely a fighter who has accomplished more based off the opponents he was able to get in the ring with. I think a lot has to also do with the fact that Canelo was the A-side fighter for a good chunk of time, to be able to produce opportunities to fight guys like Triple G and Charlo. Mosley was more of a promotional thing because Golden Boy, Mosley and Canelo was able to do that. And Miguel Cotto was something where Canelo had to bend the knee a little bit. And Miguel Cotto definitely gave Canelo that opportunity. So sometimes you got to get opportunities. Crawford never really got to have his opportunities. He was definitely promised a Pacquiao fight and waited beyond more than he should have, and it never actually materialized, which led him to unfortunately fight the guy who got the win against Pacquiao, which diminished his welterweight championship start, because who wants to get a belt from fucking Jeff Horn, regardless if he beat Pacquiao? And that fight was led with controversy. You obviously want to get the one with Pacquiao when he only had his only loss was to Floyd around that time in the recent time, and you know, Bradley around that recent time, which many people thought Pacquiao beat Bradley. So really, he kind of got screwed there, and then he never was able to really get any cross promotional fights. He re-signed in hopes of getting the Spence fight. It wasn't until he left to get the Spence fight, and then he was very lucky that the Sean Porter fight was even materialized, because I don't even think that was originally in the plan of Al wanting to set up Porter with Crawford. I think he probably wanted to set up Porter with other guys like a Thurman rematch or other fights. But I think Porter persistently pushed for the Crawford fight, and I think that helped Crawford's case of getting a solid win at welterweight. But a lot of those fights, unfortunately, was just fights where he had to either defend mandatory, or that's just what was there promotionally. I think at a certain point they were trying to set up Josh Taylor, but then Josh Taylor had a very controversial fight with Catterall, and then it just led to like more of a headache of like, all right, this dude's just not getting good wins, right? That's how people felt. But I think regardless what happens on September 12th, if Crawford happens to beat Canelo, you have to give it to him. Regardless if Canelo, if you feel, is past his prime or not, I don't know, that guy anymore, you still have to give him that. That's a really good, great win. Yeah, I don't talk about really Hall of Famers. Oh, I don't know. There is Hall of Famers that are currently still boxing. Like Canelo is a future Hall of Famer. I see Bud getting in there. You know, Inoue will be in there. There's guys that you can tell they're gonna be first ballot Hall of Famers. Bud was getting $5 million for a fight to anybody he fought top rank. The victim narrative for Bud is weak. He's practically spoiled with belts and money. I think he was. I don't think it was a victim, Cash. I think you hit it right on the nail. I think the thing was, when it comes to a resume thing with Bud, is that he was promised a Pacquiao fight. He did overextend his contract, where if he was trying to get big marquee names, he would have probably had to take a chance and bet on himself a little bit sooner and jump to another promotional company and go from the lead guy of a promotional company to playing second fiddle. You know what I mean? Like, if Bud went from Top Rank and went to PBC, there's no guarantee that he would have gotten Spence, let alone the fact that, he was going to get the same amount of money he was getting at Top Rank. Top Rank definitely was giving him a very comfortable position in the company by making good money, headlining, and maybe at a certain point what led to Bob Arum feeling or saying that he was losing money on it. So there was definitely a chance where Terence could have probably took another position, because eventually he did leave Top Rank. You know what I mean? Like, he did end up leaving him. I think the belief was there a little bit, though. And if you're getting paid really good money and you do believe that they're going to deliver, then why leave? If they're giving you $5 million, $7 million paydays for fights, where even if you're not getting the fights you want, you're still getting treated really well money-wise. So that's a really hard position to leave. So I understand what you're saying. I really always felt that if he wanted a Spence fight, he would have had to do it with PBC and more likely without Top Rank, which is what happened. So, but there's never no guarantee. Bud has definitely been a guy who's gotten almost everything that he wanted. He got the Spence fight. You know, he didn't get the Pacquiao fight, but he got the Spence fight. He's about to get the Canelo fight. Like, he has definitely, at the end of the day, made something out of what seemed like wasn't going to be a career where he was going to get anybody at all. So I have to take my hat off to that point because he is getting what he wanted. He got what he wanted. And so, you know, at the end of the day, you know, props to him, you know. But I do remember that time where it was like feeling like, why keep extending your contract with Top Rank when they feel like they're trying to freeze you out? Everyone failed to realize soon-to-be retired Warren Buffett from Ohio, along with Floyd TMT, been advising Bud Crawford since May Pac days. Yeah, I'm sure he's probably gotten some advice from a lot of his boxing family, I would say, because I think Floyd and Bud's been cool, you know, Andre, all those guys. So it would be hard for me to believe they don't talk to each other about stuff like that. They're all talking about how old Canelo is after school instead Bud weight jump like they did instead of Bud's weight jump like they did before last Saturday. Yeah, I mean, look, at the end of the day, you can't just go off one fight. 1 minute we saw the Majimov fight and everyone's like, okay, Crawford has no chance. Then we see the school fight and it's like, oh my God, okay, Canelo has no chance, right? I think we take a lot of recent things into play and immediately just jump the gun. I just need to see the fight. Like, I really don't know what to think at this point. I think on paper, Canelo still will come out as the favorite because we have still yet to see what Terence looks like at 168. And people keep using the face-off as if Terence is going to come in that weight to fight. He might not, you know? So we have to see what initial fight night face-off looks like to really understand what the true size difference will be, you know. He extended that contract because he was getting $5 million to fight Con Benavidez and Mean Machine. It's kind of a good security blanket if you can't get the fight that you want, right? Maybe if he was going to fight Thurman or Porter, he probably would have got $2 million. And if you're getting $5 million to fight Amir Khan and Benavidez and Mean Machine, it's like, you know what I mean? Like, it's I can't really fault him for that, but I do understand the criticism that he could get if that's the truth. You know, kind of take a chance, take a pay cut, what they always say, right? Bet on yourself. But it's hard to turn down millions of dollars to bet on yourself when you're not even sure if you're even going to get the fight. So I really don't think Canelo looked old school. Just didn't come to fight. I prefer boxing over brawls, but that shit wasn't boxing. I agree. He wasn't letting his hands go. So, what up, FR? How the likes of Haney Shakur have fans? I'll never know. Run. Probably back Skull to beat Canelo too. A lot of people told me they thought Skull won the fight. I really didn't see that. I thought Canelo won the fight, and I heard 115, 113. I kind of scratched my head. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying like Canelo dominated. It's just I might be I don't know. Maybe I'm a little more biased towards Canelo in that setting. You know, maybe I need to watch the fight again, which I never will, but I can probably. I think Haney Shakur fans are guys that run into street fights. Y'all are crazy. Bud wasn't a blue chip prospect. The guy was the outcast of the industry. And Warren Buffett from Omaha doing what Warren does. See value where everybody's not looking. No, I mean, like I said, Bud is a very smart businessman. I know that as a fan, it is very frustrating to see fighters not cross the street and sign with the promotional company where you feel like it's most likely going to be able to get you all the fights with Thurman, the Porter, the Danny, the Spencers, right? It seemed like it made sense to go there. But, you know, like I said, Bud still got the Spence fight somehow. Bud got the Canelo fight. And at a certain point, regardless of what we say, we have to respect his business tactics, because what seemed like was a joke that Bud was not business savvy. Maybe it's luck too. I'm not ruling that out. Maybe there's some luck in there. But we also have to respect his business savvy because he was able to negotiate the Spence fight. I heard that he was able to get Spence to drop some money out of his purse to make the fight happen. Like, very surprising that Spence would. But props to Spence for really trying to make the fight in that point. But Bud was able to negotiate really strong. He was very a shrewd businessman himself, very adamant. You know, he made a lot of good money from Top Rank. He made good money. He got the Spence fight. And now he is now going to fight Canelo Alvarez for a lot of money. So, you know, I can't even knock it. But back in the day, I would have probably knocked it, not knowing what it turned into. Haney Shakur only had one bad fight outside of Ramirez. All Devin recent fights has been entertaining. I don't know. The Gamboa fight was pretty rough to get through. But yeah, I mean, look, I get it. He just probably just wanted to get straight to the Ryan fight, get a win, get some confidence. You know, maybe it was a little gun shy. I don't really knock him. But don't knock me if I think the fight was bad. And I think that's just what it is. I respect you getting to the finish line, but I just didn't enjoy the fight. And I don't think a lot of people enjoyed the fight. So you can't really get mad at people getting upset that they thought the fight was not enjoyable and was mediocre in a sense of entertainment value, right? And part of it is Ramirez too, because Ramirez definitely was not in prime shape to do anything. But that's why I think people give Devin more problems, because it was made for him to have a great highlight reel night of boxing, right? Why would PBC put him with Spence? Spence sells out in Dallas. Follow the money. Once again, unless it was an in-house fight, that's kind of why they kind of froze him out. And they were able to make other fights. Haney's the worst watching boxing. It's track and field, not boxing. The Ryan fight with Regis, the Regis fight, the Loma fight, the Kambosos fights were all entertaining. Ramirez shit wasn't, though. I agree. That's why I was kind of shocked that the fight played out the way it did. You know, Devin typically does like to fight. He does let his hands go. And yes, he's not a guy that has one punch knockout power, but he's trying to fuck you up. I definitely would say that. So I was just surprised that Devin just didn't do anything remotely close to what he did in his previous fights. But it also makes sense because he did take some time out, a year out the ring. He had a rematch in limbo. He didn't want to make any stupid decisions. And, yeah, he did get punished a little bit in that Ryan Garcia fight. In that second fight, he was getting busy on Kambosos. I wouldn't say they were boring. You know, they maybe not be some people's style, but Jesus, that last fight was terrible. He got what he wanted to because Warren Buffett's been watching Omaha fight, supplied the business savvy to Bud's career. That's homegrown mentorship for the city. Yeah, you can see it. Yep. And I'm not going to lie. I'd be open on record to say that I was pretty skeptical on his business practices back in the day. Just like any of us, you know. Kind of wondering what it would lead to. But here we are, once again. Able to maneuver in boxing the way that he wanted to. And he's getting what he wants. And if everything works out and he does beat Canelo Alvarez at the Allegiant Stadium in Vegas, that's fucking insane, bro. It's a hell of a career to walk out of with the money that he made and the opportunities that he created himself, when really it really didn't seem like he was ever going to get any opportunities, you know? He had to come as a last-minute replacement to fight Breedis Prescott, who did beat Amir Khan on an HBO showing that nobody really fucking knows. Like I'm going to be honest and just come in like, nobody knew who Terence Crawford was at all until the Prescott fight. Like, let's keep it a beam. Did anybody watch him fight Derek Campos before? Lucas Rodas? Like, let's keep it a buck. He was able to get the Breedis Prescott fight. I don't even think people even saw this fight, let alone, I think the Andre Klimov fight. Nah, I don't know. I don't think people saw this. The Ricky Burns fight, he had to go overseas. You know, that's another fight that kind of introduced people to the public. And then the Gamboa was really the fight that also introduced people to the public. And, you know, he was the favorite in this fight. I don't know if he was the favorite in the Ricky Burns fight. I'm not sure. Might have. But then he went on with Thomas Delorme, then the Gene fight, Hank Lundy, and then Victor Posta was a fight where many people didn't think, was an easy fight. Then John Molina was a fight where PBC sent a fighter over there and was like, hey, we'll send you John Molina. And then Felix Diaz, the gold medalist. Then Ndongo was an opportunity just to be undisputed. The Jeff Horn was just the fact that he couldn't get Pacquiao. All right, sorry, y'all. I think my connection came back. All right. I think I'm about to get going because there's a thunderstorm, and I'm not 100% sure if that's the reason why my frames are dropping. But I'll read the last couple, and I'm going to head out. I appreciate all you guys jumping in. I just don't want you guys to be stuck if it buffers. Thank you. Everyone acts like Devin runs. He fights. He just holds. He just doesn't hit hard. Haney versus Stevenson. It's like watching Roadrunner versus Malik Scott. I ain't really interested in Bud's fight. Ain't no credit beating Earl Welter. I really wish we were able to see Canelo versus David. How do Haney and Shakur fans have fans? Yeah, it's like storming, and I noticed, like, I don't know why my connection went down like that. So, but no, don't go. Nah. I'll be back this week. Don't worry. I got a lot more stuff. I just wanted to make sure I go live a day after just to give my 2 cents with you guys about, Inoue. Ramon did his thing, even though he lost. Vasquez did his thing, but Espinoza's a problem. Shout out to Top Rank, like I was trying to say. No disrespect. I know someone came in here kind of saying, like, I went to try to disrespect by saying Cinco de Mayo, by putting Inoue. No, really, at the end of the day, it's just more of, this was a really important boxing weekend, right? It's essentially like considered like a Super Bowl weekend. Mexican independence, Cinco de Mayo, those are very, very important fight weekends. You don't have to be Mexican to fight on Cinco de Mayo because Floyd has proved it. Floyd Mayweather has fought a non-Mexican on Cinco de Mayo. It really is just the Super Bowl weekend of boxing. You know what I'm saying? Like, that weekend is very endeared to us. The Mexican culture definitely embraces boxing. They're one of the biggest, most loyal consumers of the sport of boxing. So in tribute, the weekends of Mexican independence and Cinco de Mayo is a tribute to the diehard boxing fans that they have became. So for the weekend that has materialized, Devin wasn't entertaining. Tio tried to have a great performance. It was cool. He won. It was okay. It wasn't nothing special of how he looked. Ryan, who was supposed to set himself in a rematch with Devin, fell short. Credit to Rolly. People don't give Rolly credit. But Rolly came in and just destroyed all of it. Ryan didn't really make it a fight. Then we go on to the Canelo card. Canelo in school, terrible matchup. It was a fight that was put together to present undisputed, and it was just terrible. And then we had to go to Top Rank. I gotta wear my Top Rank shirt just because they did their thing on a Sunday, and they put on a great card. So really, the title is just with the main events of Canelo and Ryan Garcia, which was kind of served up for them to kind of have a showcase. You know what I mean? Like, Canelo's supposed to destroy school. Ryan's supposed to make an exhibition out of Rolly. They didn't. They fell flat. One loss. One debatably, in many people's eyes, thought lost. I didn't think he lost. And then Inoue comes in with a barn burner. Amazing fight. And to add to the Mexican Cinco de Mayo, Espinoza, Ramon, Vasquez, they contributed to the Mexican tradition of putting on great fights. Inoue just happened to be the headliner, and he was the one to save Cinco de Mayo from Canelo and Ryan Garcia's main event. So Anybody defending Devin's performance needs to go away from the sport. Yeah. And everyone knows I'm a Devin guy. I'm cool with Devin. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I've interviewed him. I've been in his camp like 5 times. Like, I have not any sense to disrespect Devin. I just didn't like the fight. I just wasn't enjoyed. I wasn't enjoying the fight. I understand he made his way to get to the Ryan Garcia rematch, but in the process of it, it just wasn't pay-per-view spending worthy, you know? It's not running when you're shifting in the pocket, slipping, pinning, framing, peeling guard, digging shots in the open. That's not running at that stage after the Skull fight. Yeah. I just wish Skull and Devin would just let their hands go more. The movement was great. The criticism of how Skull moved and Devin moved, it's not their movement, it's the issues. It's just the fact that they wasn't capitalizing on the opportunities they created from the movement. You know what I mean? Like, they did such a good job moving that you expected that they were going to capitalize from it and let their hands go and make them pay. Canelo and Ramirez. But they did none of that. So you got 2 guys with slow feet with 2 guys that have great feet. The slow feet guys are trying to punch, but they can't get to them. And the guys with good feet wasn't punching. So what did we have? 2 of some of the worst fights over the weekend. So nobody's the full package. Ain't nobody perfect. Yeah, correct. I beg to differ. Rollies pound for pound. Crawford does not hit harder than Kovalev. Well, I mean, a prime Kovalev. Kovalev can only throw straight punches. Even then, I'm not sure he really hits harder than Bud. He ain't land nothing clean anyway. I mean, Kovalev prime hits harder than Bud. I'm assuming. I ain't got hit by them. But we'll see what Crawford's able to do with this version of Canelo, because I think after Saturday, I think a lot more people now think Bud is going to win. I have never seen so many people tell me Bud is out of his mind to Bud is about to drop Canelo. Like, that is such a common thing now. It just shows how fickle boxing is, right? So, I've always said in my mind, I felt Canelo should win, but in my heart, I thought Bud will win. But that's just me just being biased. You know what I mean? But I still need a little bit more time to really break down the fight itself. I do know that Bud will be moving. And I do know that for a fact that Bud will use lateral movement, because why wouldn't you? After seeing what Saturday produced, why wouldn't you move and frustrate Canelo that way and let him suffer from his inability to cut off the ring? So I find it crazy to think that Bud is not going to add that to his arsenal if he hasn't already. So Bud is not stupid. So Triple G, Kovalev, Kirkland are far bigger punches than Crawford. You said top 3. I mean, the only way to find out is Crawford punches Canelo and someone asks him, where would you rank Crawford amongst all the guys you have been punched by in power? That might be a question, Crypto Chat. You know, if Crawford beats Canelo, I have a question that I want to ask. That's not that question. So my question is kind of fucked up, but he might not even answer it. It's kind of a fucked up question, but if Crawford beats Canelo, you fought Floyd, you fought Crawford. Who was the tougher fight, and who do you think would have won if they faced each other? I know, oh, fantasy, blah, blah, blah. That might be something, like, because it's a good-ass headline. I can't even lie. That's a good-ass headline. Canelo reveals who was tougher and who would win if they faced between Mayo. You know what I mean? Like, that's... But I think punching power is a good question. Where would you rate Crawford? I think that would be another solid question if I was able to ask 2 questions. Where would you rank Crawford's power amongst guys like Triple G, Kovalev, Bivol, Kirkland? You know, is Crawford in the top? You know, Holy shit, we ain't even having this debate. I know. Listen. Hear me out. I'm just saying that was a good question, like to ask. Hey, where would you rank Crawford's power for the sake of what you're asking, right? But if Crawford loses, all right. How about this? If Crawford loses, I might ask him, how would you rate Crawford's power? You know, I don't know. I don't know. But hear me out again. That Floyd Mayweather question's still good because even if he beats Crawford, it could just be like Canelo's gotten better from the Floyd fight. So I don't know. I think I still want to ask my question. You know, I think someone might. Someone's gonna have to ask that question. Someone's gonna have that question. But my personal opinion, I think Floyd beats Crawford. That's my opinion. I think Floyd beats Crawford. But I think it's just a good enough conversation to have because because Errol Spence sparred Floyd, right? Floyd, and Floyd wasn't in shape. Like Floyd was out of jail at this time, and he wasn't really like getting ready to fight or spar or stuff like that. So I did ask Errol Spence to compare because this is after he fought Terence and he sparred Floyd, and he felt that Floyd, even then, was still like the better fighter, like the tougher fighter. Even when Floyd came out of jail and wasn't in camp and wasn't training and yada, 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 he still feels like Floyd was the better too. So that says a lot. You know what I mean? Like, you just got destroyed by Terence Crawford for the whole world. Like, Floyd Mayweather, Arturo Gatti type of ass beating. And you took on Floyd in a sparring session when he just came back from jail, which kind of started a rumor where you kind of was doing good against Floyd, where people felt like you were doing good against Floyd, which kind of made people think like you got the best of him. That's kind of how Errol Spence's whole aura came about. Like, oh, we saw Errol was giving Floyd good work. You know what I mean? Maybe he was the guy that gave him the black eye, right? And he still came off like, nah, Floyd was still the better fighter. So I would love to just hear if Canelo's consistent with that too. And if so, that's just like, bro, no way to spin it. That motherfucking Floyd is a fucking GOAT. He's a legend in the sport of boxing. Like that's some top tier, like, you know, because Bud is a good fighter. Like, Bud is a good fighter. And to still be like light years ahead. You know, and with these guys, if they feel that way. And even then, I think Bud would like the idea to fight Floyd, but Floyd is also probably his GOAT too. You know what I mean? And it's no disrespect to Bud. I think Bud just likes probably the competition of wanting to be part of the conversation because he's a competitor. But even then, I think Bud even looks at Floyd as like his GOAT. So Floyd is just our generation, Sugar Ray Leonard, Muhammad Ali, Mike Tyson. I mean, Mike Tyson as in like star power, because I think Mike Tyson still didn't win all his biggest fights. But, you know, our generation of like, you know, everybody was influenced and everybody looked up and everyone watched and everyone took something from him. And if you hate him or you love him, regardless, if you did good things, learned how to train like Floyd and took no days off and didn't smoke and drink like Bud, made smart business signings and go to like the PBC and stuff like that, like Spence, so that you can get positioned in a good light where you can benefit and not go the tough route. Be defensive minded and learn not to get hit and get punished like Shakur and Devin. But they also took the bad. They took some of the money. So the money may, not do the pretty boy stuff. So regardless, at the end of the day, man, like, it's going to end up turning into a Floyd Mayweather glazing on FightHype, and I already know, like, there you go, blah, blah, blah. Look, I get it. I think the generation I grew up, Floyd was that guy. Pacquiao has a lane to be a GOAT as well, because he was able to achieve things that Floyd couldn't as a small guy, coming all the way up to 154. He deserves his praise too, but at the end of the day, man, Floyd's that one in my era. So Floyd might win if Kenny Bayless is the ref. Yeah, see. Yeah, see, I already know. I already know some people are going to start coming at me some shit. But, look, at the end of the day, I got respect for all these guys. Canelo, Floyd, Pacquiao, Inoue. All these dudes, they have their place in boxing history. So, they're Hall of Fame. So, but all right, y'all, man. It's a little late. Like I said, I don't want the internet to cut out. I really Roy Jones was the first one I lashed to, pound for pound. Yeah, he was the first one I lashed to. He was actually the first heartbreak too. Roy Jones, when he got stopped by Antonio Tarver, I was like, oh, that's what it feels like to watch one of your fighters just lose. Like, oh, that hurt. But I learned to appreciate Antonio Tarver after too. You know what I mean? Antonio Tarver is definitely one of them guys too, and I wish he gets in the Hall of Fame sometime soon. I think he's extremely underrated. Yeah. Floyd was rocked by Ancient Mosley, Chop, Maidana in his face, Emmanuel Gus, all those guys smaller, lighter punches, let's go. But no reason not to favor him. Hey, I'm not mad at the Bud debate either too. That's what I'm saying. If Bud beats Canelo, I'm just curious what Canelo has to say. Even if he beats Bud, I'm just curious. He might surprise us. He might go, Bud's better than Floyd. Like, he might say some shit like that. I don't know. But at the end of the day, I think it's a worthy debate because we're talking about great fighters. You know what I mean? And that's what we do. We talk about, can Floyd beat Sugar Ray Leonard? I don't know. Sugar Ray Leonard was naturally bigger. He fought all the way up to 168, you know. Could Floyd beat Tommy Hearns? You know, could Floyd beat Marvin Hagler? Could Duran beat Floyd? Could Pacquiao beat Duran? Like, when you're in conversations like that, you're already a winner. You know what I mean? Like, you can't prove it. It's really no point to even spend that much time on it. But as a fighter, you wish to be in those type of conversations. Does Mike Tyson beat Muhammad Ali? Could Muhammad Ali beat Usyk? Could Tyson Fury beat Lennox? Like, you're already in great, amazing company, you know? Could De La Hoya in his prime beat Canelo? You know? Could Triple G beat Marvin Hagler? Like, when you're in those type of conversations, you have made it in boxing supremacy. That's it. Like, you have won. You have won. You are forever cemented in boxing if you can continue to hold on being brought up in conversations like that. And that's just what it's all about. If you're trying to chase legacy, it's about being that guy or one of them guys where when they compare this era and that era, like Kobe and LeBron, Kobe and Jordan, Kobe and Magic, Kobe and Bird, Jordan and Bird, and Jordan in his prime versus Bird in his prime, Magic and Jordan. You know what I'm saying? That's really what it's all about. So I take my hat off to all of them. You know, Canelo versus Chavez. You know, Magic. You know, Pernell Whitaker versus Canelo. Like, all those guys. Everyone I'm saying, every person I'm saying, top tier, have nothing bad to say. James Toney. I saw someone. James Toney's machine. You know. Every single one of those guys, literally, you have to take your hat off. You know, you might rearrange where you want to place them and how you want to organize it, and that's your personal preference, and no one can tell you that you're wrong. But at the end of the day, man, they all deserve that. Yo, Attorney Bailey, yo, I didn't even see you snuck in, man. Yo, it's been a minute. It's been a minute since I've seen you. Canelo cannot get his hands back fast enough. He will not commit to punches. You've been saying Bud for a minute, so you are committing to that. Good to see you back. Yeah, man, that's what's up. As ebbs and flows of framing and inside reverse holds with guard locks, even pinning and working a free hand. It's all part of boxing and martial arts. I agree, Pugilism. The ref moderates at their discretion, but they should never disrupt two fighters jockeying for position manipulating, guarding when fighting. So that's what I hate. Just let them work. That's the part where it's like, let them work out, ref. Let them work out. Sometimes you need to break them up, but sometimes you jump in a little bit too much. So I understand that. Jordan was the best in my opinion, but Bird would have 43 pointers in the game nowadays. You know what I'm saying? Steph Curry versus Bird, like, you know what I mean? Like, so you're in good company if your name can get brought up in those type of debates. So I think Bud has worked his way in that type of conversation, you know. But But the key is to be part of that, because there's other great fighters that get set aside to the wayside that no one really brings up as often. People tend to forget, like the Larry Holmes. Not us boxing fans, but, the Larry Holmes, the Donald Currys, the Salvador Sanchez's, hardcore boxing mindsets. So, really, at the end of the day, what up, Jab Queen Boxing? No, Del Curry was stuff if you played in the 90s. So, there's always going to be guys like that get kind of forgotten, the Ron Lyles and the Ken Nortons, the John the Beast Mugabes, and even guys that have really good accolades that just still don't really get brought up pretty often. It's boxing, man. So, all right, y'all. I really appreciate you guys coming in, rocking with me. I just wanted to go live for a little bit. I think I've been live for what? How long have I been live for? About 2 hours. Yeah, pretty chill show. Nothing crazy. True, it's fun to talk about all fantasy, but I'm gonna go stand on business. Yeah, hey, stand on your opinions, man. Like, really stand on your opinions, because if you're one of those people who just go what people say, then you might as well not even really watch boxing. It's really about having an opinion and seeing what you think is right. And when you're right, nothing's better than that. Like, I fucking told you, man. I told you. You should have listened to me. I told you the 7th round, he was going to catch him with the right hook. Like, without that true self-belief, then there's really no point. You might as well just, go on Twitter and read whatever everyone says and just copy. Have your authentic opinion. Stand on that business, because you're going to be right more times than you're wrong if you keep studying boxing. And sometimes you are going to be wrong, but when you do get it right and you continue to get it right, then that's when you really get the respect of your peers and people in boxing, because really at the end of the day, you are showing as an individual and a free thinker that there's other stuff that happens in boxing that people don't really take the time to think about that can really play a huge factor besides the normal weight classes matter, or he hasn't fought a lot of southpaws, or he doesn't have an inside game, or he drinks and things like that. Like, there's a lot of aspects that can change. Like Mayorga used to smoke cigarettes, never thought he would beat Vernon Forrest and shit. Like, what? Vernon Forrest just beat Shane Mosley twice. Vernon Forrest is like a highly decorated amateur. How the hell did this dude who smokes defy the odds? You know what I'm saying? Like, you just have to sometimes just watch boxing, and only boxing can tell you who wins, Rolly Romero, prime example. Maybe this era is Mayorga. He's won essentially 3 forms of the WBA in 3 different divisions. Captured the WBA in 135. Captured what many feel is the true WBA at 140, the super. And then captured a form of WBA at 147. So, say what you want. He has 3 versions of the WBA sitting at home, and he might be something where people have to look back and go, damn, maybe Shakur Stevenson does need to fight Rolly Romero. Could Shakur beat Rolly at 147? It feels like he could beat him, but can he make the fight? Can Devin Haney beat Rolly? They used to spar each other. Devin used to put clips of him beating him up. But can he? Can Teo beat Rolly at 147? You know what I'm saying? So instead of just saying because this guy didn't do this and whatnot, let's just actually take some time. Because a lot of people did pick Rolly. I know a lot of people saying, oh, who picked Rolly? A lot of people picked Rolly. A lot of people did. So shout out to you guys for believing to that. So, but appreciate it. This is the best boxing stream channel by far. I appreciate you guys. I'm definitely gonna have some more lives. This weekend's been crazy. We did some crazy numbers. I think we did 500,000 views off of 3 live streams. So I think we averaged like 2,000 people. Obviously, this is a chill stream. Probably like, I think at most we had about 70 people at max. But it's cool. It's a quality chat, a quality crowd. So I appreciate all you guys for just taking your time on this Monday, wherever you guys are at. You're only as great as the competition of your time. Did you face and consistently beat great competition? That's perfect. Mayorga was actually a good fighter. Yep. Yep, he is this era's Mayorga. Yep, bro. Inoue is a beast. Facts. Might see 757 Alonzo morning at the scope. Yo, Pug, come up to me, man. I'll be chilling, walking around. If you see me, or just, I'll be at Norfolk. I'll be at Keyshawn Davis's fight. You know, there's a lot of good fights on there that I want to check out. So, Conor Ben will beat them all. Ooh, hot take. Proud of Conor. Mayweather, Pacquiao, Vargas, Mosley, Hopkins, Trinidad, Whitaker. What an era. Facts, man. So, we'll see, man. We'll see how this era plays out. There's a lot more time left, so, and a lot more fights to be made. But with that, new talents coming up, and we'll see what happens there. But look, I appreciate you guys. I could be here forever. And just like early in the stream, I was playing the Street Fighter Ryu stage just because Naoya Inoue is a bad motherfucker, dude. Bad boy. This generation's point fighters. Norman versus Ben. Yep, I would love to see that. Jod Padley, the face of boxing. What up, Squid Ink Pasta? I just had to play some Street Fighter, you know what I mean? I felt like when Inoue got drops and got up and Ramon was like, come on, man. And he was throwing them hooks, them uppercuts. Like, come on. Props to him, man. That was a real life street fight. It was a real life Street Fighter moment. So, Mexico, be proud. Japan, be proud. You guys did your thing on Sunday. Top Rank, thank you for saving Cinco de Mayo. And hopefully the monster comes back in America, man. Maybe Madison Square Garden next, man. So, appreciate you guys. You guys have a great Monday. I might be back this week with some more lives. However, if not, I will have interviews dropping throughout the week. I have some people I'm lining up. And, yeah, stay here on FightHype. Stay tuned. We got a great team that has a whole bunch of amazing interviews dropping. So, yeah, Inoue is just special. Aaron Pryor of our time. Ooh. Okay, man. Well, Attorney Bailey, man, I'll see you in the next live, man. I always appreciate you stopping by, as always. Appreciate Squid Ink, GRN, Real Mulatto, Jay, Blus, Crypto Chad, Pugilism, Joka Tech, Jab Queen Boxing, Crypto Chad, 2HP, Bud fought so smooth against Spence, it blew my mind. Coda. Yeah, man. Appreciate all you guys, man. I think we're getting carried away with Rolly. If Ryan goes back to Reynoso, maybe even Goose, and we might get on a rematch. I don't know, man. I think Rolly Mayorga, man, make it happen. Get a time machine. We ain't talking about that matchup. So. Ryan's main problem was some chicken out and didn't pick Rolly, but he was a +600 too hard to pass. So even more, I think it was bigger. I think it was a +800. So, but. All right, y'all, man. You guys take care, man. I'll see you on the next one.